Hey, what's up guys? Today we are here with a beginner's tutorial to Martian Manhunter. I'm going to be doing a bunch of these tutorials for a lot of different characters. I think the next one's going to be Wonder Woman. Let me know who you guys want to see, but today we're just going to break down some of Martian's basic stuff like his normals, his specials, and his particularly useful strings. We're not going to get into all of them, especially since he has a lot of them, but we're just going to discuss some of the main ones and just discuss some of his basic tools. We'll do a more advanced video later, but for now we're going to talk about the simple stuff. So, quick overview of Martian Manhunter. He's probably the most diverse character in the game. He has the most broad tool set, I think, out of any character that exists in Injustice. So he basically has the most tools. However, he is not a character you can autopilot really easily with because of this reason. You have to kind of vary up what you're doing all the time. So just kind of playing Martian and going through the motions doesn't really work out that well. So it's sort of one of those things where you just have to keep that in mind. His other sort of notable weakness is that his ground game, when he doesn't have trait, is not that good. His normals aren't the best, but as soon as he has trait, all that changes and his normals become significantly better. Speaking of his normals, let's talk about them. So he has his stand 1, which looks like that, which is an 8-frame high. You can use it to punish things, and it has a bunch of different strings on it. It has like 1-1-2, which looks like this. Now when you're traded, that second hit is not a mid, it's a low, and the last hit is an overhead. As you guys saw, there's like 1-1 up 3, so you know he has a couple strings that he can use out of that normal. But stand 1 is an 8-frame mid, and it's not a bad normal, and you know, certain situations the strings that the normal has on them are pretty good. You can use it in a couple of different instances, but for punishing, you probably won't be using his stand 1. You'll probably be using his down 1 because it is 6 frames, and you can cancel it into stuff. It has a lot of range for a down 1, especially when he's traded. It reaches really, really far, and it's a really, really great normal. So a lot of characters who have a lot of pushback on their stuff that make it hard for them to get punished on things, Martian can punish with his really, really far traded down 1. So that's one of the important things. His trait, if you guys didn't know, gives him increased damage as well as more distance on his normals. So as you can see there, if, you know, his stand 3 whiffs like that, but as soon as you trait, it'll hit. His normals have these huge range on them, and that is, you know, one of the benefits of his trait. It even works with jump normals. As you can see there, he's got like this giant scooper for his jump 3. So yeah, his stand and crouching 2 look like this. His stand 2 is probably his, you know, most useful normal, because there's a lot of strings that you can use off of it. There's a lot of pressure you get off of it, and it's fairly fast. It's 12 frames on startup, so it's one that you're going to go to a lot. It has a couple of different strings off of it. 2-2 back 3 probably being the main one. You can get a combo off of it, and it's a launcher. It's also plus on block, but after this 2-2, the back 3 section where he winds up like that is interruptible. So if your opponent's on his A game, they can interrupt that and punish you. There's also 2-2 into 2-2-2, which is an overhead at the end. That's negative on block. However, it kind of creates a mix-up game because off of your 2-2, you have a couple of different choices what you can do. Obviously, there's 2-2 back 3, which I showed you guys. There's 2-2-2, which is an overhead. There's 2-2 scoop, which is a low. And then there's stuff like 2-2 meter burn orb for more pressure, or just 2-2 raw, stuff like that. So there's all kinds of different mix-ups you can go for off of 2-2. It's your primary pressure tool, and it's a really good... the normal is really good in general, especially when you're traded. The range on 2-2 is really, 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 really incredible. His down 2 looks like this. It's actually a fairly decent down 2, especially when he's traded. It's really good for popping people out of the air. It has a really high hitbox, and you probably won't use it in most situations because his stand 3 is a better anti-air, but still a pretty decent anti-air in some situations. Like if you have trait, you can get like down 2 into like a jump normal teleport if they're really high and stuff like that. But yeah, in most situations you won't use it as an anti-air, but it's pretty okay. His stand 3 looks like this. I showed it a little earlier. Looks just like that. It's a flip. When he's traded, it's one of the best normals in the game, I think. Especially since it's special cancelable into orbs and stuff like that. It's a really, really good normal. Has a lot of range. And you can use it in combos as well in certain situations to set up kind of ambiguous stuff in the corner. But yeah, really, really good normal, and when you're traded, it's really, really good. It has this incredible range, and it's special cancelable. So yeah, a lot of good stuff about that normal. Let's get into kind of more his more unique normals. So about Martian, he has a 50-50 game. He has an 18-frame back 2, which is an overhead, looks like that. It has a string attached to it, back 2-2, 3. You can combo off through it if you use different things, like you can use orb or you can use teleport, whatever you want to do. So There's his back 2 and also his back 1, which is a low, just looks like that. 11 frames on startup, so it's not something that you can react to, but still his back 2 is a little bit slower, so that's probably what you'll be on the lookout for. Both of these have a string attached to them. Back 1-3 is actually really good for Martian because it creates space. Set up an orb after and you get kind of that free chip or something. It's just something your opponent has to deal with. Back 1-3 is a very good string in general. Even if your opponent blocks it, if you have trait, you could do back 1-3, trait 3, and your opponent really can't get out of it. It's kind of hard for them to deal with. It pushes them to a space where most characters don't have good normals to deal with that. His other unique normals, his forward 2. His forward 2 has a couple different strings attached to it. So after an overhead teleport, one of the things most people go for is forward 2, down 1-3 scoop, just like that. That's his, most damaging string in a lot of situations. You can also get it off of 2-2 back 3, just like that. And there's also his off of his forward 2 is forward 2 up 1-3. And the thing about that string is that in the corner you get a lot of mileage out of it. It's a very good string. But mid screen you probably won't find yourself using it as much unless you're going for some meterless damage in kind of a unique situation. So there's that. But yeah, his forward 2, the most notable part about it, besides it having a lot of range when he's traded and you being able to combo off of it, is that, even though I missed it there, is that it ducks a lot of normals. It's a really interesting normal. The hitbox on it means that a lot of situations, Martian can't be hit out of it. So it's really a pretty unique normal. His back 3 looks like this, hits twice pretty fast. It blows up other people's meter burn back 3s. Very good tool, plus 10 on block. One of the best back 3s in the game. His forward 3 looks like that, kind of slow. It's a funny looking animation, but pretty good nonetheless. Gets a lot of damage off of it, and it's pretty good in the corner as well. So those are his forward 3 and back 3s. Very good. His meter burn back 3 is definitely one of the top ones in the game. So it has a lot of range too. So yeah, there's that. Another interesting thing about Martian before I get into his specials is his throws. His throws have some of the most range in the game, and they also have a very funny animation. They don't have the zoom in at the start, so they make for one of the hardest throws to tech probably in the whole game, just because of the way the animation works. I'll show you guys the back throw. Same kind of thing. And he, yells after it because he's pretty angry. So those are most of his notable normals and strings. When you're playing Martian, your primary thing is going to be your 2-2 pressure. You'll use a lot of down 1. You'll use a lot of stand 3. And that's pretty much it. His jump normals. His jump 1 is a great normal. Has a lot of blocks done on it. Really, really good stuff. And when you're doing stuff like instant air dash, his jump 1 is one of the best instant air dash moves in the game. It's really, really good. And you could do 2-2 off of it. So that's one of the strengths of it. Besides that, his jump 2 is really good when you're traded. It has all this range. Another good thing about his jump 2 is it combos into overhead teleport on block. So if you're going to punish something with jump 2 overhead teleport, you'll get about 45% if you have a bar. His jump 3, another great normal, especially when you're traded. Because what you can do is you can do jump 3 teleport, and if they block, you can confirm that they block and do overhead teleport. If they don't block, you can confirm that and do the under teleport, the lower teleport. So really, really good. Now let's get into his special moves. We'll start with his teleport. I think that's one of his most important ones. And then we'll move into all his zoning and stuff. So his teleport is one of the best anti-zoning tools in the game. Gives you a combo off of the normal teleport, just like that, which is very unsafe on block. Hits as a mid. Don't get a lot of damage off of it, but it's very useful. You also use it in most of your combos, like, stuff like that. So it's a very good move in general. Very good anti-zoning tool. And his overhead teleport, which looks like this, is safe on block. It's -8. Certain characters can punish it, but you get more damage off of it. You get about 40% for a bar. And it does a lot of damage. Now, characters afterwards, most characters can't punish it, but a lot of characters will get a mix-up on you afterwards, especially if they're a high-low character. You kind of have to sit there and deal with it. But it's one of the best anti-zoning tools in the game. The thing about these teleports is both of them can be beaten on reaction with a meter burn back 3 if your opponent's holding it, sort of like Doomsday Supernova. So you have to keep that in mind. But definitely one of the best anti-zoning tools in the game. If you can instant air teleport, then it takes a lot of the zoning that your opponent can do away. And it's a really, really great move in general. You can also make teleport cross up in all kinds of situations. We'll get into that later. But against certain characters, mostly the floating ones, whenever they jump and land from full screen, if you just do a teleport, an overhead teleport to hit as they're landing, it will cross them up. So characters like Black Adam and Green Lantern and a lot of times Wonder Woman and Superman will always cross up on them. Certain characters jump 3 into overhead teleport will cross up on them as well. Off the top of my head, Superman and Wonder Woman are the most consistent. Jump 3 into overhead teleport will always cross up on them, so keep that in mind. Well, now let's talk about some of his other tools. So his combo potential kind of special moves, he has Scoop, which looks like that. So whenever you're going to go to punish stuff, the main metered punish is usually going to be down 1 Scoop. And then you can go into your back 3 after into whatever you want to do. So that down 1 Scoop, or Scoop in general, is a very good move. You can combo after it. If you have the execution for back 3, which most people probably will, it just takes a little bit of practice and you can get it consistently. There's also easier ways to combo off of it if, you know, you don't really want to go for that or whatever. There's other things you can do, but for the most part, you're going to be doing a back 3 off of that. Same thing if you ever do like his back 1 into Scoop or his back 2 into Scoop. You're going to be comboing off the, you're going to be comboing off of it with the back 3. It just takes a little bit of practice, and you'll never drop it unless you're me. So yeah. Either way, that's his primary combo starter is his Scoop. That's what you'll use the most besides his teleport. And the thing about Scoop is that it's unsafe on block, but certain characters can have trouble punishing it. So depending on who you're fighting against, it could be safe or not. A character like Superman can forward 2-3 it almost every time, but some characters might only get a down 1 into special and they might miss it. Characters like Green Lantern have to do down 1 into lift, and if they miss their punish, then you get a huge combo on them. So it's a really good special move as long as you can hit confirm it or you're fighting against a character who has difficulty punishing it. The other combo potential kind of special move he has is his phase. Now the thing about phase is you'll use this at the end of your combos to set up kind of mix-ups and stuff, right? So this is mainly a combo ender, and you can also meter burn it and combo after. Whoops. Into different kind of things. But the main thing about phase is you're going to use it at the end of long combos to get a hard knockdown. The other interesting thing about his phase, let me just set my opponent into the, the left side of the screen. So the interesting thing about phase is that it guarantees a lot of interactables on meter burn. So when you land a meter burn phase, there's nothing your opponent can do to get out of that interactable. It's 100% guaranteed. So meter burn phase is one of the most useful tools in the game for setting up interactables, because afterwards you can see the knockdown you get after is really, really long. So there's almost nothing your opponent can do about it. So meter burn phase is probably one of the most useful special moves for guaranteeing interactables. Really, 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 really good stuff. And not much your opponent can do about it in a lot of situations. So keep that in mind. You can also combo it after it, as you guys saw. His other special moves are his orbs, which they're all zoning tools. Are his orbs, his pillars, and his overhead strike. Now, all 3 of those are zoning tools. All 3 of those are really good zoning tools, although they all have their own issues. All of them are direction based, so you have to put them on different parts of the screen. As you can see there, his telekinetic strike, and then there's his pillars. 4 different spots on screen. His meter burn pillar will always track, and you can combo with a teleport after. Now the thing about his pillars is that you have to get used to guessing where your opponent's going to be. So for instance, if you do a teleport or a strike like that and you think your opponent's going to dash forward, maybe you'll do that pillar and your opponent will dash into it. If you think your opponent's going to stay still, you might do the far pillar and then the other pillar just because you expect them to dash forward, etc. Now the thing about these zoning tools is you can use them to complement each other. So for instance, if you throw out a far orb, which your opponent has to respect now, you can use that to set up your strike and get the free chip, or maybe make them eat it and stuff like that. So that's how his zoning works. A lot of it's on prediction, but mostly it's setting stuff on the screen that your opponent has to consider. Now let's talk about his orbs, because the other 2 are basic zoning tools, not really as special. There's the meter burn version of his telekinetic strike, but let's talk about orbs, because I think orbs are his most diverse and useful special moves. So when you set an orb that's non-meter burn, it stays on the screen for a few seconds, like about a second and a half, and then explodes. And the time is always the same. If you set meter burn orb, it lasts a little bit longer, and it has a unique thing where it'll explode on contact. So if you push somebody into it, then the orb will blow up every time. And it'll blow up on contact like that, hit or block. Now both of these orbs are very, very plus, and the key to using orbs correctly is positioning on screen. So let's say that you can also combo off these orbs. So if you're close, you can you can do like a back 3 or something afterwards, or something like that. If you're a little bit farther and you push them into it, you might do like a jump 1 teleport and your combo with phase, stuff like that. So it just depends on your positioning on screen. But yeah, orbs are really interesting. So one of the things you can do, like I was mentioning earlier, let's say you throw a close orb like this and your opponent's standing about where he is right now. Well, if you want approach your opponent, you basically have a free way to set this up by throwing a meter burn orb right in front of them or throwing the orb behind them. When you do this, it basically creates a situation where if your opponent dashes forward, he hits the white orb. If your opponent stands still, he's going to hit the red orb, so he has to block either way. Now, the frame advantage created from these orbs, you can use to dash up and do stuff. And it's also like a shield. Against teleport characters, you can throw an orb like that, and if your opponent ever tries to do anything, you can combo off them. Even in the Martian Manhunter mirror, if you throw a close orb like that, your opponent teleports, you can get a free combo off of it every time. They're also great off of a knockdown. If you dash up and throw an orb like that and block, if your opponent will wake up with anything, you can combo off the orb's explosion during the recovery of their wake up attack. So it's really, really good. The thing about orbs is you have to understand, you have to think about them as barriers on the screen, and you have to think about them as situations that your opponent has to deal with. When you throw out an orb like this, throw out another orb like that, now your opponent has to deal with both of those at the same time. If he dashes forward, the white orb is there to hit him. If he stands still, the red orb is there. So either way, your opponent's stuck, and you have to use them sort of like a minefield to kind of stuff your opponent's approach, as well as set up your own mix-up and offense as you do it. Close meter burn orb is definitely one of the best defensive tools in the entire game, and you have to get used to using it well. So, like if you throw a close meter burn orb, then you set up a white orb past it or something like that, you just created a free approach from full screen with 1 bar every single time. So using your orbs like that is definitely the most important parts of playing Martian. It's just something you have to get used to. So thank you guys for watching this basic tutorial for Martian Manhunter. I ran a little bit long, but either way, hopefully you guys learned a little bit. I'm going to have more basic tutorials soon, as well as an advanced Martian Manhunter one. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys again soon.